Hey guys, welcome back to Fast Football Talk. Today we have part 2 of our 2021 first round NFL mock draft. Now, if you missed it, I'd highly recommend going back and watching it to see why I took the prospects that we took, and that is going to go up here in this corner, so go ahead and click there if you want to see it. In the meantime, all the prospects are going to be showing up right about now on your screen as I go over some of the ground rules for the draft. So first, this is not a predictive mock, this is a what I would do, and second, all the trade values here were based on the Jimmy Johnson trade chart. So, without any further ado, all the prospects in the past recapped, let's hop right in at pick number 11. So at pick number 11, the New York Giants are going to get linebacker Micah Parsons, and he's my close runner-up for the best defensive player in this draft. He put his crazy good athleticism on his display at his pro day. He has great acceleration for his size and moves actually pretty fluidly. What makes Micah Parsons special is that he is a really good player against the run, but yet he also has the instinct and ability, I think, to play zone coverage, although it's not his greatest skill set, and I certainly really wouldn't want him matched up in man against some of the league's best mismatch weapons. I think that he can still be a decently average cover player while still being an elite run defender in the league. Now, with him, your biggest concerns are some of the character issues. He was caught up in a hazing scandal in college, and then he also has a couple issues from high school that surfaced, so kind of taking him at your own risk and hoping that his talent will kind of outweigh some of his toxicity locker room issues. At pick number 12, New England is going to trade up with Philadelphia, giving up picks 15, 96, and 139 to move all the way up to 12, where they're going to pick quarterback Mac Jones. So similar to how I traded with the Broncos, I think that I might be able to get Jones at 15, but again, looking down the board, seeing Washington and the Bears, scared of a jump, so that's why I made the move for the Patriots. And for the Eagles, there was really no prospect I wanted to take here or needed really to take for this team. I would much rather just kind of grab more picks, grab more lottery tickets, and move my way back in the draft and hopefully be able to get a player I was considering up here anyways. Now, what do we like about Jones for his pros? He is the best playing and structured quarterback in this draft. I think that he has the strongest processor, and he really has a solid command of the pocket, as well as solid accuracy. Now, Jones' biggest problem is that he has limited upside, and this is caused by the lack of physical traits. It almost certainly caps him from ever being an elite quarterback, as these days, really the elite quarterbacks possess the athletic traits that you look for in pretty much these top 4 quarterbacks that Jones just does not possess. Now, your teams are going to have to weigh how much risk they want to take here, because I think that there's really a wide range of outcomes for a Mac Jones. The Patriots here really have to do some soul searching and ask themselves, are we getting Teddy Bridgewater or are we getting Tom Brady, Drew Brees on the high end? So I think a large range of outcomes that Jones can fall between, which is why he's my quarterback 5. Yet I still like him, and I think to the Pats he would be an immediate upgrade to this roster that really invested a lot at weapons and now just needs the guy to stand there and distribute the ball just like he did in Alabama. Then moving on to pick 13, the Los Angeles Chargers are going to take tackle Christian Darrisaw. So this is an interesting one because he's not what I would consider my 13th best player in the draft, but the Chargers kind of hold themselves in during free agency. They have a pretty gaping hole at left tackle that they never filled. So this combined with the early tackle run that we saw earlier, you kind of have to address that position here. So tackle Christian Darrisaw it is. But yeah, it's still not enough of a reach to make me feel uncomfortable with taking Darrisaw as the pick. I still think Darrisaw is a really good football player. He's going to come in here, be a day one starter at left tackle, and he still has enough nice upside to justify a top 15 selection. So again, really don't hate it. Reach down the board a couple spots. I don't really see even that as a reach, and they solidify that left tackle spot for Herbert. And then moving on to 14, the Minnesota Vikings are going to take edge rusher Pt.2. So here, really what I wanted to do for Minnesota was add a lineman. I think that they have the worst line in the league, but then the Chargers continued the slide by taking Darrisaw, and I'm looking on the board, and there's just no linemen that I'm really thinking are worth taking here, and no one that I'm really comfortable taking here. So I'm going to address the other side of the line, the defensive line, that needs plenty of help too, one of the weakest units in the NFL last year. So I'm going to add Pt.2, who I think is the best edge rusher in kind of a muddy class. He lacks the production from college, but he has great physical tools and athleticism that give him that potential to be a high-end edge rusher in the league. He's incredibly explosive and incredibly strong when rushing the passer. So I'm going to take him here. I think that he's one of the best defensive players in the draft. He might not have the production, but he really does have the upside to be a high-end edge rusher in the league. So we're going to go ahead and take Kwity Paye and add some edge depth to this defensive line that really could use some help. Then at pick number 15, the Philadelphia Eagles, who traded down with the Patriots, are going to take wide receiver Rashad Bateman. Now, on Bateman, he isn't my third receiver on the board at this time, which kind of makes this pick interesting. I think that Jalen Waddle would be my pick for the third receiver, but I think that makes the Jalen Reagor situation difficult, as you just drafted Reagor last year. I think that they have a very similar skill set between Reagor and Waddle. So I'm going to take a different skill set. I'm going to take Bateman at 15. Even if he is lower on me than Waddle, I just like that addition with Reagor better. Now, Bateman in this class is what I would define as the most balanced receiver prospect. He can make contested catches, get open, but he doesn't excel at any one skill, and he's not a super rare athlete. However, I think that his best skill is his ability to gain separation off the line of scrimmage. He has a really nice polished release set that allows him to get that separation early. So I think that he's going to be a productive NFL receiver, even if his ceiling is most likely capped as a high-end wide receiver too, just because, again, not a freak athlete, kind of lacks the higher upside, but I'm comfortable taking him at 15 at a very valuable position in today's NFL and at a big position of need for the Eagles. Then at 16, the Cardinals are going to take the receiver we just talked about, Jalen Waddle. So Waddle takes a bit of slide in my mock, and it's not because I don't like the talent, it's just honestly the way the board fell. Falls to a perfect fit with the Cardinals, which I'll get into in a second. And this did turn into my favorite first round pick by happenstance. I think that if this happens on draft night, it would be incredible for the Cardinals. Now, why is it such a good fit? Kyler Murray, he's an excellent downfield thrower. He's really at his best when he's kind of sending those Russell Wilson style moon balls on the sideline. So I want to get him another vertical receiver to pair with Hopkins. Not to mention that Hopkins did his best in Houston when Will Fuller was on the field. So I think you take those two guys, they're matchup nightmares, then you take Kirk in the slot, and I think that you have a really, really good receiving core for Kyler Murray to use. And then a little bit on Waddle. So he's obviously the fastest receiver in this draft and the best vertical threat. He has some real rare juice, which has gained him Tyreek Hill comparisons. Now, Tyreek Hill's a bit of a unicorn, and it's unrealistic that Waddle ever turns into that, as Hill just plays so much bigger than his size. But you cannot deny Waddle's speed and his natural ability. I think he does have serious potential to be the top receiver in this class, but that also comes with an inherent risk, as we've seen from other speedy receivers, and he does seem to have the lowest floor out of all these guys. But it's a risk I'm willing to take here for Arizona, and I think that with Kyler Murray, he would succeed pretty well. Then at pick 17, the Las Vegas Raiders are going to take cornerback J.C. Horn. So the Raiders, they need defensive help at nearly every position. So my idea here is I'm just going to take the best defensive player available, and in this case, that is cornerback J.C. Horn. I would like to take an edge rusher here, and I looked down the board, but really there was no one I felt comfortable picking with at 17. No trade partners. I think the edge is a desperate need on this roster. So we end up taking cornerback, which is also a pretty big need, especially in a division where you have serious receiving threats with Hill, Sutton, Judy, Allen, not to name countless others. So on Horn, though, he is a corner that likes to play physical. He's at his best when he's pressing receivers off the line. A really solid player who I think will help improve this defense greatly, and I think that one that Gruden will really like as well. Next up is pick number 18, where the Miami Dolphins, for the second pick, are going to take tackle Tevin Jenkins. So I still want to improve this offensive line for Miami. I think that improving it will be a big help for Tua in year 2. So I grabbed a receiver early. I'm going to grab a tackle now to help on this line. And then their other need, edge, I'm going to look to target in round 2, as I think there's still going to be a lot of solid options there. On Jenkins, he is probably the most physical and violent tackle prospect in this class. He's an extremely explosive run blocker who just bodies defenders. However, he is going to need to work on his pass blocking technique, but he has that athleticism to have that upside to be a solid tackle project. And what's interesting about Jenkins is he played across the line in college. He has a lot of versatility, but he did play most recently at right tackle, which is where I think I'm going to keep him here in Miami. This is going to give me some flexibility with Robert Hunt, who played that right tackle spot last year. I can move him to guard if I need to, if I think Jenkins is ready, or he can start at tackle day one until Jenkins is ready. The Washington football team is up next at number 19, where they're going to take linebacker Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. So JOK, as he will be referred to from now on, is an incredibly special and talented athletic linebacker. He's the best man coverage guy in this class. He moves extremely fluid, and he can man up with any back or tight end in space. Now, what I think is really special about JOK is because NFL offenses are constantly looking to create matchup problems these days with fast tight ends, twitchy running backs in space. JOK is a player that I feel comfortable rolling out there and deploying him on these threats to eliminate them for an offense. I feel comfortable telling him to man up a back or man up a tight end, and I think that he has the skills to do that and eliminate those matchup problems from an offense's game plan. So, incredibly valuable for a defense. I think Ron Rivera is going to love that skill, even if it might take JOK a little bit of time to get used to playing as a true in-the-box linebacker. This could pay off big time as an incredibly versatile and fluid modern NFL linebacker. That takes us to pick 20, where the Chicago Bears are going to select cornerback Caleb Farley. This was one of those other tough spots for me to pick from. Really, no matter who you pick for the Bears here, you're just still kind of disappointed. It just feels like going through the motions at this point. Like, no player you take here is really going to change the course of your season. You need a quarterback, but you can't get up for one. Just ultimately kind of disappointing. So my idea here was to bolster the secondary again. They lost a couple key pieces in that secondary, the biggest one being Fuller, who went to Denver. So I'm going to take Caleb Farley, who has been sliding down the board due to injury concerns. Before his back injury concerns, Farley was a borderline top 10 pick in the draft. He was incredibly quick and athletic corner prospect. However, he has some serious back problems. Last I heard was that he has the same back injury that Tony Romo was facing that ended Tony Romo's career. So teams and the Bears here at this spot are going to have to do some serious research on this player before they end up picking him. So no one can deny that Caleb Farley has real talent, but he also has really, really serious injury concerns that caused the fall here. But I'm going to take him to the Chicago Bears and take the upside, as I don't really see any other player making a huge immediate difference for this team this year anyways. Well, guys, that's going to do it for part 2 of our mock draft. We now have picks 1 through 20 completed, with part 3 on the way shortly, so make sure you guys are subscribed and watching for that. Again, if you haven't watched part 1, I'd highly recommend going back and watching that. You can click on it right there. And I encourage you guys to leave a like and a comment. Let's talk about some of your favorite prospects in this draft. Thank you guys for watching the content and tuning in. This is Fast signing off with a Mile High Salute.